Hi everyone. So this week we are going to be talking about behavior in Google Analytics. Now, chapters 2 and 4 talked a lot about search engine optimization and third-party data. Chapter 5, which is what you should be talking about this week, is more diving into web analytics and web intelligence. So go ahead and let's access that demo account. Okay, go ahead and hit save. So again, it should pull up the audience overview. You're going to scroll down on the left-hand side to the behavior tab, and we're going to go over each of what these tabs mean. So let's look at the first one. We're going to look at new users versus returning users. And this is important data to know, especially just like as a basic format when running reports, because new visitors are, your goal is to make them A, an engaged user, and B, a returning consumer, right? You're always, especially for the Google Merchandise Store, it's an e-commerce website, which means they're selling something, a product or a service. In this case, it's all product. So they're wanting they want your money and to hire their revenue. So over here, if you notice a conversion set to e-commerce and like how much money is each person generating. So in this case, there were more new visitors, right? 9,310, which obviously means they spent more money. The total being around 549.77. The returning visitors were 2,128. They only spent $66.50. That $616 in from April 8th to the 14th does not sound like a whole lot of money for the Google Merchandise Store, but it is interesting to see. We are dealing with the COVID-19 crisis currently in April, so that also might be why we're seeing a dip in revenue. If I were to track, let's go back and track Christmas and see if the revenue was changing during winter months. Go ahead and click apply. And let's watch that number rise, of course. So let's look again. New visitors were still dominating for this little week of December, whereas returning visitors, not so much. The Google Merchandise Store saw $787 spent on new visitors, and $539 was received from returning users. So, why do you think that new visitors is higher than returning? I want you to think about that for just a second. So, the reason why, one reason why, is returning visitors, if you notice, have a higher bounce rate. So there might be more people logging on to Google Merchandise Store. However, that's not what they're looking for. So Google is still tracking these people that are logging in, but they're obviously bouncing back off because whatever they typed in was not what they were looking for. So their average bounce rate is almost 50%, which is really, really high. Returning users are people that know exactly what they're looking for, or what they thought they were looking for at least. They had a 42 bounce rate, which is lower. I think it should be more in the 30s, but it is lower than a newer visitor. The average time spent on a new visitor is only around 2 minutes, whereas the returning visitors almost spend 4, almost double what new visitors spend. Transactions, there was only 12 transactions for new visitors, but think about this. That's a lot of money between 12 transactions. If you go through the Google Merchandise Store, the prices are actually not that expensive. So really, I still think this should be higher, but maybe people are not looking for Google Merchandise. Versus returning users had 13, so almost the same amount, but returning visitors or newer visitors are spending more money than a returning visitor is. I thought that was interesting to know. You can also click on new visitors and actually see more statistics about the people. And it's kind of the same chart, it's just specifically to the new visitor. Okay, so now I want to go to frequency and recency. So we're going to click on this. This is specifically for sessions and page views. So sessions are really important for digital marketers to track because it is the whole amount of time that a person is spending on a website, whereas a page view is how many pages are being viewed through the website. So look at like all of this. There's 10,000 being reported right here, 10,017. And during that 10,017, 37,279 page views were being transacted. That's pretty interesting, but this is only like the count one. And you can scroll all the way down and see the differences. You can also go to days since last session. I think this one's really cool too. So days since last session, which is still through the December 22nd through December 31st, you had days since last session, 11,000 sessions, but 43,000 page views. So people, when they enter your website, or at least a Google Merchandise website, they're looking through more pages than just like one. So that's also something that's really good that digital marketers need to know, is at least the consumers are starting to go through their pages and like know what they need. Let's go to engagement. Engagement's also extremely important when you're looking in digital marketing. So session duration, there were 13,496 sessions during the 22nd through the 31st. And then there was 55,007 page views. You can also look and see how many of these sessions lasted. So 0 through 10 seconds, there was 6,000 and 7,000 page views. Whoever these people are, they're clicking really fast if these are the page views, which is probably saying there's 1,000 of them were only looking at one page, and then a couple of them clicked on a second page and then backed out. 11 through 30 seconds, there were 1,000, and then they looked through at least 2.5 pages. And you can keep tracking up to see how many sessions were created. People that are spending a lot of time, obviously a lot lower, but they are looking through multiple pages, even though there's not as many sessions being created. Now you can also go through the distribution page depth up here. Let's go ahead and click on that. Page depth means how many pages they are looking through once they have a session created. So sessions on this page, there were 6,445. And of that number, the same amount were going through just one page. When you look at two pages, there's 1,876. And how many page views. And you can see the differences as you go down. Now, I thought it was really interesting noting that page depth was 20. And the numbers actually increased dramatically. Because at first, it starts going down. And then all of a sudden, it shoots back up. So, I don't know if this is their website, content optimizers, analysts. I don't know who this is. But that, to me, was really interesting. Session quality. Let's go to session quality over here. Okay. So in session quality, it kind of goes back to where your channels are, like where your audience is coming from. So you can see how many sessions, like the quality of a session versus how many, if there's a transaction, and sessions without a transaction. Now, this is going to have the adverse effect because sessions without a transaction, if you have multiple, you're probably not going to have that many transactions versus people who are actually looking through your, you have a quality engaged user. They're going to spend more time on your website. They're probably going to have more transactions where this did. So let's go ahead and look down through here. Default channel grouping, you have an organic search. This is what we talked about last week in my little content video. Organic searches are not paid for. They are based on how optimized your website is. So Google does a really good job, obviously, of ranking or optimizing their web pages and web content really well, because that's actually the number one way people are getting onto their website. So that's working for them. However, the bounce rate is not. People are going onto their website and saying like, okay, this is not actually what I'm looking for. So over 50%. So they need to figure out why people are clicking on their website and then backing out. Direct is the second highest, and it obviously has a lower bounce rate because they are directly putting this in to their search browser, and they know exactly what they're going for. It's only probably high because maybe somebody like typed in Google and it went to merchandise store instead of like Google browser. That's something that they could probably not be faulted for. So you can also look at like the e-commerce version rates, the transactions revenue, basically what we had looked at previously based on the session quality. We're not going to go over conversion probability because this is still in the beta stage. You're more than welcome to look through it, but it's still being tweaked. So I'm kind of waiting until they untweak it to make sure that they're not going to change anything on it before they actually set it in stone. But you're more than welcome to go through. You can actually see like source medium, like what people are typing in versus like what channel it's coming from, the medium. So, I mean, definitely play with this behavior tool, but I just wanted to give you a little heads up of how to look at some of the web analytics and read just some basic web data. If you have questions, contact me. I would love to do a Zoom meeting. I can share my screen with you and we can have all sorts of fun playing with the Google Analytics Google Merchandise Store master page. If you do not have a question, I will talk to you next week.